Nathan grew up in a small coastal town where time seemed to move slowly, and nothing ever changed. The narrow streets, the harbor filled with fishing boats, and the old wooden houses gave the town a sense of familiarity and warmth. Since childhood, Nathan had listened to his grandfather's stories about the old days, when the town had no tourists and people lived solely off fishing and trading goods. He loved the tranquility of his hometown. To Nathan, this place felt like a world of its own, where the things he cherished would always remain unchanged. If there was one place on earth that could resist the passage of time, it had to be his home. But one day, that belief was shattered. The sky was a brilliant shade of blue, and the salty sea breeze carried the familiar scent of the ocean. Nathan was helping his father repair their old fishing boat when a sudden scream from the shore caught his attention. He looked up, squinting against the bright sunlight. A young woman on a surfboard was struggling to stay upright, speeding uncontrollably toward the jagged rocks near the shore. She waved her arms frantically, trying to regain control, but it was clear she was in trouble. And in that moment, without hesitation, Nathan dove into the water, unaware that this single act would change his life forever. Nathan dove into the water, swimming fast toward the girl in distress. The powerful waves pushed her dangerously close to the sharp rocks, but just before she could crash into them, Nathan reached out, grabbing her arm and pulling her away from danger. They plunged into the water, the icy cold sending a shock through their bodies. But with a strong grip, Nathan kept her afloat and guided her back toward shore. By the time they reached the sand, she was gasping for breath, her wet hair clinging to her face. Then, to Nathan's surprise, she laughed. He stared at her, baffled. "Well, you're definitely my hero now," she teased, her voice carrying a playful spark. Nathan rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the heat rise to his face. "I just happened to be there," he muttered awkwardly. She smiled, wringing the water from her long hair. "I'm Sophia, and I guess I owe you a big thank you." From that day forward, they became inseparable. Nathan soon learned that Sophia was the daughter of the local cafe owner, the same cafe he often stopped by after a long day at sea. During the day, she helped her family run the cafe, and in the afternoons, she devoted herself to learning the art of baking, a passion she had nurtured since childhood. As for Nathan, whenever he wasn't out at sea with his father, he spent his evenings with Sophia. They often sat by the shore, sharing their dreams. Sophia dreamed of opening her own bakery, a warm and inviting place filled with the scent of freshly baked bread and coffee. Nathan listened, captivated by the way she spoke about the pastries she wanted to create, the recipes she was perfecting. There was a fire in her eyes whenever she talked about baking, like the golden sunrise shimmering over the ocean. Nathan, in turn, dreamed of owning a fishing boat of his own, sailing freely across the vast sea. Together, they envisioned a future where they would always have each other. But fate has a way of testing the things we believe to be unshakable. Nathan and Sophia grew closer with each passing day. Every evening, after finishing their work, they would walk along the shore, listening to the rhythmic crashing of the waves and dreaming about the future. Nathan had become so accustomed to Sophia's presence in his life that he couldn't imagine a day without her. But then, an unexpected opportunity changed everything. One late afternoon, as Nathan returned from a long day at sea, his uncle, a man who had spent years working on luxury cruise ships, arrived from the city with big news. A prestigious cruise company was hiring young, strong men with exceptionally high salaries. "In just a few years, you could buy your own boat and help Sophia open the bakery she's always dreamed of," his uncle said enthusiastically. Nathan was torn. This was his chance to secure their future, to turn their dreams into reality, but it also meant leaving Sophia behind for years. That night, he met her at their usual spot by the beach. The moonlight shimmered on the water, casting a glow that made the moment feel both beautiful and unbearably heavy. "Nathan, how long will you be gone?" Sophia's voice was quiet, but he could hear the fear hidden beneath her words. Nathan held her hands tightly. "Just a few years, Sophia. When I come back, we'll have everything. You'll have your bakery, and I'll have my boat. This is the best chance for us." But Sophia shook her head, doubt clouding her eyes. "Nathan, I believe we can achieve those dreams without being apart. I'm afraid that time and distance will change everything." The conversation quickly turned into an argument. Nathan insisted that this was the fastest way to build the future they had envisioned, while Sophia believed that love shouldn't be sacrificed for the sake of ambition. Neither of them was willing to back down, and as the night wore on, they walked away with heavy hearts, unaware that this might be the last time they saw each other for a very long time. In the days that followed, Nathan and Sophia barely spoke to each other. They were both hurt by their argument, yet neither of them dared to reach out first. Time continued to slip away, and before they knew it, the day of Nathan's departure had arrived. On the night before he was set to leave, Sophia appeared at his doorstep. She stood there, her eyes red and puffy as if she had been crying for hours, yet her gaze remained steady. Nathan didn't say a word. He simply looked at her, waiting. She stepped closer, her voice soft but full of unspoken emotions. "Nathan, I've thought about this a lot. I don't want to stand in your way, but you need to understand something." She reached for his hands, her fingers trembling slightly. "You'll be gone for years, and when you come back, neither of us will be the same people we are today. Thoughts change, feelings change, and distance can be cruel. It can extinguish even the fiercest flames." Nathan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He tightened his grip on her hands, as if trying to hold on to something slipping away. "Don't say that, Sophia. I promise, nothing will change. Wait for me. I will come back for you." Sophia gave him a sad smile and slowly pulled her hands away. She reached up, gently cupping his face, her eyes filled with love and sorrow. "Go, Nathan. Chase your dream, but don't expect everything to stay the same." Then she rose on her toes and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. It was a tender, lingering touch, one filled with both love and quiet heartbreak. And then she turned and walked away, her figure disappearing into the night. Nathan stood there, watching her leave, feeling as though a part of his heart was walking away with her. That night he couldn't sleep, his thoughts raced. Was Sophia right? Would time really change everything? But no matter how much doubt crept in, he still believed in their love. He would return, and when he did, everything would still be as it was. The next morning, Nathan boarded the massive ship, carrying with him dreams yet to be fulfilled and promises left unspoken. As the ship pulled away from the dock, he stood on the deck, watching his hometown shrink into the distance. He told himself that when he came back, Sophia would still be waiting. But fate always has its own way of testing the hearts of those who believe in forever. 5 years had passed, and Nathan had spent every moment at sea, working tirelessly on massive ships. He learned to navigate through violent storms, endure endless nights on the open ocean, and push through exhausting days without rest. But in return, he had built a fortune. Through hard work and smart investments, Nathan had not only earned enough to buy his own boat, but he also had more than enough to fulfill Sophia's dream. Yet, despite all the distant shores he had seen and the foreign lands that had tempted him, his heart always belonged to only one place, his hometown and Sophia. He had counted the days until he could return, imagining the moment he would see her again and finally fulfill the promises they had made. When his ship finally docked at the familiar harbor, Nathan stepped onto land with his heart pounding. Everything looked the same yet somehow different. The narrow streets felt smaller. The wooden houses seemed older. As he passed by the old church, he noticed that the priest he once knew had been replaced by a younger one. Time had moved forward, yet in his mind, he had frozen the town exactly as he had left it. Nathan walked slowly towards Sophia's bakery. When he reached the large glass window, he stopped and looked inside. She was there, just as beautiful as he remembered. She wore a white apron, her long hair tied back, a warm smile on her face as she chatted with customers. She had done it. She had built her dream. Nathan was about to step inside when something caught his eye. His breath hitched. A small but undeniable detail, on her hand, a ring glimmered under the bakery lights. He froze, feeling as if the ground beneath him had crumbled. She was married. A sharp pain stabbed through his chest, stealing the breath from his lungs. His hands clenched into fists as he forced himself to turn away. He had dreamed of this moment for years, of seeing her again, of telling her how much he had missed her. But now, all of that was meaningless. With heavy steps, he walked away, the weight of lost time pressing down on him. A pain he had never expected clenched his chest. He had longed for this day, imagined their reunion over and over, but now none of it mattered. He had been foolish to believe that time could stand still, that she would always wait for him. For the next week, Nathan avoided every street that could lead him back to Sophia. He didn't want to see her, didn't want to hear an explanation, because to him the truth was already clear. She had moved on without him. A week had passed, and Nathan lived in an empty haze. He had everything he once dreamed of: wealth, his own ship, and success. Yet he felt as if he had lost the one thing that truly mattered. Most of his time was spent at the harbor, watching boats sail off into the horizon, wondering if he should do the same and leave it all behind once more. One evening, unable to bear the weight of his thoughts any longer, Nathan decided to take a walk along the beach. This was the place where he and Sophia had spent countless evenings dreaming about their future together. But tonight he walked alone, aimlessly, trying to soothe the ache in his chest. As he moved past the familiar rock formations, a silhouette came into view. Sophia sat on the sand, gazing out at the vast ocean. Her hair swayed gently in the evening breeze, her fingers absent-mindedly drawing small circles in the sand. Nathan stopped in his tracks, torn between approaching her and walking away like he had done a week ago. But then, as if sensing his presence, Sophia slowly turned her head. "You came back, but you never came to see me," she said, her voice carrying no accusation, only quiet curiosity. Nathan swallowed, trying to keep his emotions in check. "I thought there was no reason to." Sophia studied him for a long moment before giving a soft, knowing smile. "So, you saw the ring?" Nathan took a deep breath. "Yeah, and I get it now. You found your happiness." Sophia let out a small laugh, but there was something sad and weary in her eyes. She lifted her hand, allowing the moonlight to illuminate the delicate silver band on her finger. "Nathan, this was my grandmother's ring. I've worn it since she passed, to remember her." Nathan felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath him. "So, you're not married?" Sophia shook her head slowly, her eyes reflecting the shimmering waves. "I waited for you, Nathan, but when you didn't come looking for me, I thought you had changed." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the rhythmic crashing of the waves. Then, as if something inside him had finally snapped into place, Nathan stepped forward, taking her hands in his. "I never forgot you. I came back for you, but I was a fool not to realize it sooner." Sophia didn't respond right away. She simply gazed into his eyes, as if searching for the truth in them. And then, in a whisper, her voice laced with both relief and happiness, she said, "Then don't leave again." Nathan pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, afraid that if he let go, she would disappear like a dream. The ocean breeze carried away the weight of the years they had lost, replacing it with a new beginning. No more distance, no more misunderstandings, only two hearts finding their way back to each other after years apart. A month later, the small coastal town witnessed a remarkable transformation. Sophia's little bakery was no longer just a roadside shop. It had become a cozy and elegant cafe at the heart of the town. Right beside it, Nathan had restored an old wooden house into a charming coffee shop, a place where locals could gather, sip warm drinks, and enjoy the sea breeze. It was all thanks to Nathan. With the wealth he had earned over the years, he didn't just help Sophia expand her bakery. He built a future for both of them. But for Nathan, the most important thing wasn't the cafe or the bakery. It was simply being with Sophia, seeing her smile every single day. One evening, Nathan took Sophia to the beach, where they had spent countless evenings together. The sun was setting, casting shades of orange and pink across the sky. The ocean breeze was cool and salty, carrying the whispers of the waves. Sophia took a deep breath, savoring the peaceful moment beside the man she loved. Nathan suddenly turned to her, his eyes filled with something different. "Sophia, do you remember the night we sat here and talked about our dreams?" She smiled and nodded. "Of course. And now, we've made them come true." Nathan held her hand a little tighter, his heart pounding in his chest. "There's one more dream I want to make a reality, but this time, I need you to do it with me." Before she could ask, Nathan dropped to one knee on the soft sand and pulled out a small velvet box. As he opened it, A diamond ring sparkled under the golden sunset. "Sophia, you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. I've sailed across endless oceans, watched the sun rise over foreign lands, and stood beneath 1,000 different skies. But no matter where I went, my heart always belonged here, with you. You have always been my home, Sophia. And now, I want to make it official. Let me be your final destination. Will you marry me?" Tears of happiness filled Sophia's eyes. She didn't need to think. She knelt down beside him, wrapped her arms around him, and whispered, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a deep embrace. The waves lapped at the shore, bearing witness to the moment when two souls finally became one. A few months later, a breathtaking wedding took place on the beach, the very place where their love story had begun. Lanterns hung from wooden poles, glowing softly under the moonlight. Tables were decorated with seashells, candles, and white flowers, blending perfectly with the sound of the rolling waves. Friends and family gathered to celebrate, their laughter filling the night air. Sophia wore a flowing, elegant dress, her wavy hair cascading down her back. Nathan stood at the altar, dressed in a crisp white suit, looking every bit the man who had conquered both the sea and her heart. When she walked down the aisle, his smile shone brighter than the setting sun. They exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of their days. As the officiant declared them husband and wife, Nathan pulled Sophia into his arms and kissed her deeply, surrounded by the cheers of their loved ones. As night fell, they danced under the stars, their love as boundless as the ocean before them. And in that moment, with the waves whispering their blessings, they knew this was only the beginning of their forever.